What's going on YouTube? Keith Moore Jr. here, and I am here to give my post-fight reaction of the Dimitri Bivol and Canelo Alvarez fight. So I actually had Bivol winning this fight by a wider margin than the judges had. I do not agree with that 115 to 113 score, but it's all good. Dimitri Bivol got the win. Congratulations to him. So let's talk about what he did in order to get the win and if Canelo can beat him in a rematch. So first of all, Bivol went into the fight extremely underestimated. Not a lot of people were familiar with Dimitri Bivol's background. He's an Olympic gold medalist. And after Canelo Alvarez beat Sergey Kovalev, I remember there was an interview with Andre Ward where he said Canelo better stay away from Dimitri Bivol and better beef. So even despite this, despite there being plenty of film on Bivol looking at his previous fights, people were saying, he's never fought anyone like Canelo. Now, my analysis, which I will post on the screen for you all here, which I put on my Twitter, Bivol moves his feet well. He's not going to be there standing still to get hit. He has a great jab. And the big thing about Dimitri Bivol's jab, he does not just throw one jab. He will double it, triple it. It was even some points of the fight where he was throwing 4 jabs and they were all piercing through Canelo's guard. Now, recently I did a video on the most important punch in boxing, and that is the jab, which was key in this fight because Dimitri Bivol, he's the taller fighter. So if he can keep Canelo at bay, if he can frustrate him by constantly throwing that jab off, then Canelo, as we saw in the fight last night, he cannot time him to land those big shots like he's used to doing. And even when Canelo did land some big shots, it did not affect Bivol at all. He kept moving. He didn't stand there and continue to let Canelo keep him up against the ropes. He was constantly moving, which is the key to beating Canelo, which is in the fights we've seen Canelo get in trouble, it's been with fighters who are boxers. So same thing, like this was very close to what we saw in that first Triple G fight, establishing the jab, but Bivol obviously won. Triple G and Canelo's first fight was a draw. Controversial. A lot of people thought Triple G won, but hey, it is what it is. But Dimitri Bivol, he did a good job because I think he did a better job than Triple G because he did not stand there long to get hit by Canelo. Now later in the fight, when Canelo was tired, and I feel like Bivol knew that Canelo's power had went down, Bivol was standing there with him, and when Bivol threw his left hook, it was backing Canelo up. When he was throwing his right hand, it was backing Canelo up. So Bivol has power, which a couple months ago, David Benavidez was in the video where he said he sparred Dimitri Bivol and he has power. So Bivol had the total package. He's a great boxer, but he also had power that Canelo respected. So Canelo could not walk right through his punches. Now, what does this mean for Canelo going forward? So I've been hearing, I don't know if it's true or not, that Canelo wants to exercise the rematch clause. In my opinion, Canelo cannot beat Dimitri Bivol. They're both the same age, both in their prime, and Dimitri Bivol, this is going to be an extreme confidence boost for him. And Dimitri Bivol, like Canelo, yeah, he is at that weight now and everything, but he did not look, his physique did not look how it does when he fights at 168 or 160. You could tell he looked, a little fluffier, not as muscular, which makes sense because he, put on some size, but he also was looking kind of gassed during the fight, which early on in his career, we would see Canelo get gassed like after that 6th round. But even prior to that, when he was in the corner, he was breathing hard. And I think that extra weight had a lot to do with it. So on top of him having the extra weight, having to constantly deal with that jab, I mean, it was just, there was nothing that Canelo could do. And then on top of the jab, Bivol has those sharp punches, the sharp power that's making Canelo back up and respect him. And then lastly, the work rate of Dimitri Bivol. Dimitri Bivol threw way more punches than Canelo, and he's very efficient. He's one of the best defensive fighters in boxing and one of the most efficient fighters in boxing if you go by the numbers. So, congratulations to Dimitri Bivol. As far as a rematch, I don't see how Canelo beats him. He was able to take Canelo's best shots with no problem. Canelo was landing that 6, which was the uppercut, but it wasn't landing plush. A lot of times when Canelo was throwing, you know, he was catching the hands, Bivol was blocking it, or he was hitting Bivol's arms, which I was interested to see if later in the fight that would have an effect on Bivol, but it did not have any effect on his arms or his strength. So, you know, kudos to Canelo for stepping up and taking on this challenge. But hey, I think that weight class, that 175-pound weight class, is a different beast. And though, you know, guys like Bivol or even a better beef are going to be too much for Canelo. So let me know what you all thought of the fight below. Once again, I'm going to get more videos like this out just because that fight made me want to get into doing more fight reaction videos and things like that. All right, I'll catch y'all in the next video. Peace.